Good morning. I'll call the meeting to order. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Bright, beautiful day. As I was told by a former mayor, a mayoral day in Grand Rapids, correct?
Exactly.
All right, very good. First up today, we do have approval of the minutes of our May 7 meeting, so I'll entertain a motion to do that.
Move their approval, Mr. Chair.
It's been moved. Do we have support?
Support.
Okay, so moved and supported. Any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, we're now at the part of the agenda where we entertain public comment. I'm not seeing people rushing to the podium this morning, so we'll move right along to amendment to fiscal year 2014-15 Unified Planning Work Program.
Good morning.
Take them, Abed, very good.
ITP is requesting to amend the Unified Work Program for 2015. They have funding in the TIP for $35,000, but it's not in the Unified Work Program for human resources planning. The Metro Council has the responsibility to amend the Unified Work Program. It doesn't go to the policy committee, it comes straight to the Metro Council board. So basically, the human resource planning is, basically to train staff about ADA and equal opportunity employment and, stuff like that. So, so the funding is coming from FDA, Section 5307 for $28,000, and the state would match that for $7,000. So staff are requesting to amend the Unified Work Program for ITP to be able to use those funds.
Very good. Any questions for Abed? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
So moved. Do we have support? Support. Okay. Any discussion? Questions? Comments? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, we have FOIA policy.
Nope.
No, we don't have FOIA policy. We have fiscal year 2015-16 Unified Planning Work Program. Abed.
Thank you. Basically, this is the next fiscal year budget for the MPO activities. Every year, in March or April, I travel to Lansing and I meet with the Federal Highway Administration staff and MDOT staff to go over what do they require from us for the next fiscal year under the MPO activities. As in the previous years, most of the activities are basically carryover activities because we collect a lot of data. We do a lot of, updates to the plan and to the transportation improvement program. So basically, in my memo, I've laid out our priorities for the next fiscal year, and basically we are trying to meet the 8 planning factors under MAP 21, which they were carried from Safety Lou. So we have basically 6 major activities in the Unified Work Program. Under each of these activities, there are sub-activities that, for example, updating the travel demand model, doing asset, payment management, data collection, congestion management. So what we do is we collect traffic counts and we do travel time studies, and we use all these indicators to develop deficiency lists and try to meet the new guidelines, under performance-based planning and programming that is required by MAP 21. Under page 3, I've listed these different work activities. For example, database management. And under that, we collect traffic counts, and we collect land use plans, and we do GIS activities. Long-range planning, we develop and mandate and update the travel demand model that we have, and also last year, basically, last month, you approved the MTP, which is the Metropolitan Transportation Program. Plan, excuse me. But so we have to maintain that. If there's any updates, we will update it next year. One of the items that we need to do is to make sure that the 2040 MTP will comply to the performance-based measures that are coming in the next few months. You know, we have short-range planning. We have the TIP is under that. Transportation ITS is under that. Safety planning, freight planning under that activities. And then we have transportation management system, which include 3 different activities. The first one is pavement management system, congestion management system, and the state asset management system that we perform for them. And the last 2 items, which is transportation program coordination and land use transportation coordination. If we go over page 5, 6, and 7, I'm not going to read all of those. You know, each activity is under the Unified Work Program. It's listed with a brief description next to it. As you can see, you know, if we go back to page 3 and 4, each of the different, you know, major tasks has a budget associated with it. And as you can see, there are a lot of different sources that we receive them from the state and the federal government. I have listed the description of each of these funding sources under page 8. And you can see that we get PL funds, which is FHWA planning grant. We get FHWA planning and research, which is SPR. We're not anticipating any SPR funds for next year. This year we have $50,000 that goes towards the downtown traffic circulation study. We have FDA Section 5303, FHWA Surface Transportation Program, which is the SDP funds. We use those for congestion management and pavement management. And then there is the local match. And I've listed also how much we anticipate for the next fiscal year under each of these programs. Like SDP, we have $150,000, CMAC $80,000, Section 5303, $210,000, PL is $827,000, and asset management $20,000, and local match around $293,000. As for staffing, we don't anticipate any changes in staffing. We have an adequate level of staffing, which will enable us to meet all the requirements from the state and the feds. What's new for next year is we have to develop a new TIP. The 2014-2017 expires 2017, so by October of 2016, we have to have a TIP in place. So we will spend the next, in 2016, roughly around 9 months developing the new TIP. The new TIP will be the 2017-2020 TIP. And also, as you know, last month the feds came and they gave a presentation about the certification report. There are some of the recommendations that we are working on that those activities will happen in the next fiscal year too. Finally, the last 2 pages, which is page 10 and page 11, basically, it's just for information, which lists the 2014, 15, and 16 transportation dues, and this is for your information. And as you can see, the dues has been trending down, every year, and it continues to be so, for the next fiscal year. This is all what I have. I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
So for the board members, this is the first part of our budget process. We come to you in June. We'll be back in August with the rest of the budget, and then now we do a 30-day waiting period so that the budget will actually in full be adopted in September. I've asked all the departments to freeze or decrease their budgets. This is a freeze when rounded becomes a decrease for every user. So we're holding the line on any increases for any departments for next year. So this is just the first phase. We need to approve this today because we have to get it into the state for their processes.
The reason that we have to approve it today is because we need to send this to MDOT right after this meeting. They moved the deadline from July to June. So it did go through the policy committee, and the policy committee recommends approval from the board.
Why don't we get it on the floor? I'll entertain a motion. Yes, support?
Support.
All right. Further discussion, questions?
Yep, Mr. Chair, let's just let our imaginations run wild for a moment and anticipate that the state legislature would actually adopt a roads budget.
With the dramatic pause to allow me.
I'm just saying.
A lot of
Let your
chuckles.
imaginations run wild. What would that do to this, with this, I mean, would you need to come back to us for additional local match then?
No,
How would
because,
that work?
because the state funding, basically it goes to the locals and it goes to the state to do their own projects using state money, and on top of that, to match federal funds. We estimate in the tip that all those matching funds are already available, so we don't have to come back and ask for, an amendment, unless, there is an additional federal funds that is available, we will not come back for.
But I mean, there could be substantial additional planning work required, yes, or no?
It's possible. I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I don't foresee from the planning activities perspective where the additional funding that the state is going to get is going to require additional work on our part.
We may be able to implement more on the list,
Yeah.
but we won't probably create a new list. It's the priorities are the priorities, and unfortunately, they're dependent on funding.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Let me add one more thing with respect to funding. AMDOT is thinking about flexing FTA funds to FHWA, which means that, the FTA funding that I've listed, which they have a requirement of 80-20 match, will go to under the PL funds, which the match is roughly around 18.175, which basically will save us around $3,700. So we haven't done it before. We'll see how it goes.
Yes.
Just want to say good job with your budget and
Thank you.
keeping it in line, keeping our dues in line. That's very good. We need to
Thank you.
recognize that.
Thank you.
Anything else? Hearing nothing, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, now, that does bring us to the FOIA policy.
Right. So we have before you a FOIA policy, which we created in line with the guidelines of the Michigan Municipal League FOIA policy. I'm also going to be sending you all today some documents that Tom Butcher put together on FOIA that he talked about and sent to me, and I'll forward those on to give you a couple of different guidelines to use. But we looked at the MTA and the MML policies and talked to several people, and we've got to do something, so we put together, following the guidelines of the MML, this FOIA policy. And if you haven't done it yet, you're running out of time, and so you could use this as a guide as well. And then Tom will have, Tom's documents that he has a lot of background information as well.
So is this the draft that Tom did, or no?
No, it's the draft off the MML guidelines.
Okay. Okay, so we're looking for approval today?
Yes.
All right.
Move approval?
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, we have the Southwest Michigan Trail Support Resolution. Why don't we just get a motion and get it on the table?
So moved.
Moved and supported. Discussion.
Mike Selden brought this to us. Mike, we wanted to just take it.
Sure, thank you. Basically, what we're looking at is, it's been kind of a long-term plan, I think, for the Trails Association and in Michigan, but especially in Southwest Michigan, to do a connecting trail between Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids. And more specific, even, I think, with the resolution, there was the West Michigan Trails and Greenways plan for a long time has been to connect a trail between Sturgis. It kind of references Wayland, but that would also get it into Grand Rapids is the idea with it. A lot of the section is already complete, connecting Sturgis and Kalamazoo. There's a few open loops in there, but I know they're working right now to try to get those connections filled. And there's been a group of us that have been kind of put together. It's been spearheaded through the governor's office, and he's trying to get us, as a group moving in the right direction before he leaves us on our own. And part of this is to get these resolutions of support from all the communities and kind of stakeholders within this region to push this trail idea forward. There's kind of a good connector core there. There's a great trail system, obviously, in Grand Rapids in the Kent County area. There's another great one down in Kalamazoo and Kalamazoo County, and then there's not really anything in between. From the city of Wayland, we applied last year. We received TAP funding through MDOT. We're going again to try to secure funding through the DNR's office for the other portion of the funding that we need for our section of trail, with the hope that some of this support for continuing the trail, and once we can get our project moving forward, hopefully next summer with construction of our just over a mile section of it, that will spearhead other communities to continue on. And basically I've been kind of tasked with, especially on the north side of the area here, to try to reach out to communities and stakeholders and try to get support for this. What we're really hoping to do is take these resolutions of support forward and applying for a 100% grant through the DNR for a planning grant that would allow that whole section of trail to be planned out, potentially at least kind of an initial engineering stage, but to be able to identify revenue sources and routes and everything, so when communities are ready to move forward, to help kind of spearhead that along, and when they are ready, then it gives them something that they can go off of to continue this trail. And obviously it's not a short term, within the next couple of years everything's going to be done, but we're hoping to kind of piece this together. So
Comments or questions?
We have the resolution on our board agenda for Monday night, so we're kind of in that loop.
Mike, I understand several governmental units that are Metro Council members have already passed this, and Don's got it Mondays.
Yep. Very good. Anything else? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, the same sign. Motion carries. All right, this morning we have Michael Young with us, and he is going to kind of lead the discussion on the executive director review.
Good morning, thank you. We did pass out a copy of the results. I know Mick, you came in right when the meeting was called to order. I think there are some extra copies if you don't have a copy. I'm very pleased to present the results of the 2015 Executive Director's evaluation. This was reviewed by the Executive Committee at our last meeting. Was conducted by the Executive Committee over the last several months. As we do each year, John was evaluated on 10 factors that were established by the board on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest ranking you can receive. And then the Executive Committee was also asked to rate John's overall performance. So if you look at the sheet that was passed out, the general factors from 1 to 10 are listed on the left, with the results of the 8 executive board members who evaluated John, and then a category average on the far right. As you can see, this is an outstanding evaluation. John scored very, very high on all of the factors. John actually maxed out and scored a perfect 5 on the leadership category, and nearly a perfect 5 on the job knowledge category. I think anybody who's been involved in Metro Council over the last several years since John has become our director has seen the enormous positive changes that John has been able to institute for the organization. John also received a 4.75 on the overall ranking from the Executive Committee, so Congratulations to John,
Yes.
outstanding review. Al has established a work group consisting of myself, Cy, Mike DeVries, and Al, to take a look at John's contract and recommend any modifications, and we hope to have that work completed by our next executive committee meeting. So again, John, congratulations, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Congratulations. Good work. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta try harder next year.
Yeah. Get this whole slacker thing.
Let's see if you can boost that knowledge category.
Yeah, right, yeah, okay.
Any questions about the review, or for myself, or Michael, or any of the committee members?
Thank you to everybody who participated in getting that data together. Good job.
Very good. All right then. July GVMC board meeting.
The July meeting is on July 2nd, which is right before the holidays, and several of you have already told us that you wouldn't be available, so this is just a request to cancel that meeting for the July 2nd.
Moved and supported.
Moved by the left side of the roster.
Seeing as I get a new hip on June 29th.
Yeah, that's good, that's
All
right,
for,
that's right.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. John, do you have anything
Okay,
else
yeah,
for us?
I have a few extra things. Nelson Township has already voted to join Metro Council and begin that process. Mike DeVries and I are going to Sparta on Monday night to talk to them about coming back. They've requested that we come in and meet with them. So anybody else that wants to, it's 7 o'clock. Yeah, I'll pick you up, George. No way. They will want to come back, so we're going to talk to them on Monday night about that, and then if they are agreeable or they want to come back and they request again, we'll go through the process together with both units of government rather than one up and deal with that. Otherwise, if they say no or decide no, then we'll start the process for Nelson. For those of you that are township supervisors, remember the Supervisors Association Monday. We're meeting at MDOT. Roger and I will take you through the Traffic Operations Center and talk about changes that are going on at MDOT. So that's also for Monday. In July, we're going to be doing 2 presentations. One is to the Board of Trustees of Grand Valley State University about our relationship with Grand Valley and all the things that we're doing together with Grand Valley. And that presentation will also include our environmental programs and our graduate assistant that we have from Grand Valley. And then we're also presenting and demoing our traffic van to the MDOT Board of Trustees, Board of Directors, the Transportation Commission. So both of those things, they happen like on a Thursday and a Friday in early July. So we'll be making those 2 presentations. So that's all for me.
Is that it? All right, why don't we do our roundtable? We'll start.
I should ask also if there's any legislative issues that anybody has as we go around.
Okay, very good. So, Michael, any comments or legislative issues?
All set, thank you.
All right.
The only thing that I have to report is apparently the Steelcase Pyramid has a new lease on life. Kind of interesting meeting with a man that says, I'm going to buy it next week and pay cash.
How much?
Works for me.
Sign them up.
What he plans to do with it yet is kind of up in the air, but looks like it'll end up being a multi-use facility. And what else he's got planned from there, I'm not sure.
Things are good in Walker. Lots of construction going on. Of course, the Wilson MDOT resurfacing and the roundabout's coming along nicely and seems to be on schedule and has been really served well with a great planning from a detour perspective. So that's good. And then also we got some additional funding for the tunnel. That's the M45 tunnel for the trail, the Fred Meyer Trail. So that's moving nicely along too. So
Very good. All right. Diane.
At the county legislatively, the solid waste ordinance has come back to the Finance Committee. They passed it, and it will go to the Legislative Committee. and if they pass it, it will go to the full board. So that is something that would impact everyone in this room. So definitely something to take a look at and have on your radar and be aware of if you're not.
On June 11th, on Thursday, I know there's one on Monday coming up, but Cascade is hosting a coast-to-coast passenger rail conference, or I should say open house, from 6 to 7:30 at the Cascade Library at the Wisner Center.
If anybody cares, Cortland Township's not gonna have a gravel pit right now, so.
On the legislative side, we've worked with the city of Grand Rapids and Holland and moved smart zone legislation out of the House yesterday, and now it goes over to the Senate and looks positive, so that was, well, it was taken care of last time around, but
Right.
got thrown out with the bathwater. And then I didn't hear what legislation you were talking about, but I presume local preemption is on everyone's radar screen. If not, we should be talking about the local preemption legislation that would allow the state to kind of override local ordinances and local laws. So we should be taking a look at that, and John, we can talk about that.
Okay.
It's not, it should be on people's radar screen. I presume it's on the state association's radar. It's things like, you know, minimum wage, you know, wouldn't allow, there's pieces of it the business community doesn't mind, but there's also pieces of it that, you know, just it goes too far.
Rick, is that the bill that McGregor is proposing in the Senate as well?
Proposing?
I think he's got a draft.
I think so, and like I said, you know, from the business community's perspective, we don't like the idea of having a patchwork of minimum wages and that kind of stuff. But now they've lobbed on, you know, if you have civil rights ordinance that could be wiped away, so, you know, it gets a little kind of goofy. It went from being an okay piece of legislation to goofy legislation, which is not uncommon right now.
We had a successful triathlon in Greenville. I think all of you were there. I think I saw all of you.
We won, actually.
Yeah, yes, you did. I know.
You beat me. You beat me again
Right
this
at the
year.
finish.
Right there. Sold across the board. I saw it. Anyway,
Right at the
the
donut.
attendance this year, the participants were up about 5 or 6% over, 8% last year. The attendance was up 15% from the first year, so it's growing each year. Those kind of events are popular, and people look at those kinds of things, bring people to West Michigan, enjoy what we have, and hopefully boost our economy. That's it.
I'd like to thank John for his leadership. I know he personally has been very helpful to me, spending time with me, so thank you, John.
Bet. Thank you. Okay. You can pick up George.
I'd like to commend you also, John, for being involved, not just in Grand Valley, but also at the state level, and the job that you've done in trying to improve communications with the Grand Valley Metro Council. I had an appointment from the mayor to the pension board, which I felt was a punishment, but turned out to be a blessing. I had a chance to go to their conference, and there were some excellent presentations. I had those presentations things to Rose on a disc, so if you would like copies of those presentations, their slides, and different topics, with some of the computer cycling, crime risk. It also talks about some of the things that will be happening in Washington, D.C. as a result of the lack of bipartisanship, which I think we have here. And last but not least, it has something about a code of conduct for members, things that they should avoid to keep from being involved, things that would diminish the public trust in pension boards. If you'd like those, give me a number, and I will send them to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Plainfield Township's long nightmare with the DEQ is over. We had a favorable ruling from the Court of Appeals, and miraculously, the state decided to negotiate, and we've settled our lawsuit over our lime sludge at our water treatment plant. basically allowing us to continue doing what we've always been doing that they told us we could do, that they then changed their mind and said you can't do anymore. And later this summer, we are happy to welcome the second Meyer LPGA Classic, sponsored by Kraft, tournament at Blythefield Country Club, which last year received very high reviews and a lot of national attention to the Grand Rapids area. It's a little earlier this year, I believe.
Well, apparently the DEQ's now moved down to Berry County.
No.
Give you the name of a nice attorney.
Well, no, luckily it's not Hastings, it's Berry County with their drain commission, but the hospital merger between Pennock and Spectrum Health has gone through, and they're now looking at all their properties in Hastings, but also outside of Hastings. I guess they're gonna do a total review of where they want to do to decide whether, also decide whether they want to move the hospital outside of the city of Hastings. Kiss Cross Events, who hosts the Barrier Bay Killer Gravel Road Race in Hastings, they're moving from March to April. They decided they don't want the real cold weather. And they're also going to now host a Fondo, what they call a Fondo, in October, which is more of a group ride as opposed to a race. And then the Gus Macker 3-on-3 tournament is going to be the last weekend of June. I think this is like the 4th year they'll be in Hastings, so for the last weekend. So.
There you go.
For your information, I see yesterday the Government Accounting Standards Board passed a resolution that says governmental units are going to have to disclose on their balance sheet their total pension liability instead of just in the notes. And I don't know when that takes effect. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but just for your information, that's coming, and it's going to greatly affect your balance sheet. It doesn't make any difference at this point in time, but it's just going to make people more aware of the obligation going forward.
City of Wyoming has a nice expansion from General Motors. 300 jobs and 190 million, something like that, for equipment and so forth. So that's a great addition.
The Reeds Lake Arts Festival is Saturday, June 20th, so come hang out all day and buy art.
In the case of Deffert versus City of Grand Rapids, we won a big victory this week. The court dismissed the charges. Apparently, it's acceptable for a police officer to stop someone pacing back and forth in front of a school building with a gun on his waist, singing the theme song from The Lion King at the top of his voice. But that is suspicious behavior, and it's okay to stop and detain him temporarily.
It's good. It's good to know that.
Yeah.
Quit doing that.
And John, no mention was made about the piece that you've given us here on your reception for Brian and Julie Kelly, and I think it'd be. This looks like a terrific idea. Thanks for thinking of it and doing it. If you'd say anything more about it.
Yeah, it's not a fundraiser. It's just a thank you. We've got people from all over the region coming to this, and you're all invited. We have an earlier meeting, which is full house already, of the Regional Prosperity Initiative, and just because there was such an outpouring of people that wanted to come to that, we slid it over and invited them to come to our house in Ludington and have a little reception. So they're going to be there, and you're all welcome.
Very good. You know, when we talk about current legislation, I think, as I talked to a number of my colleagues, we probably, at this point, just have some heartburn over regionalism as we struggle through some of those things. I think of it in 3 pieces. The Strategic Alliance was pivotal in working with the business leaders in Michigan and the governor's staff to consider delivering state services on a more regional basis, because remember the spaghetti map, it was 84 different districts that services were either delivered or financed through, and then that grew to more than 100 lines. Well, the state did streamline that. They came out with a map we all know that has 10 different regions based on the Brookings study of the natural economic regions in Michigan. So that's part one, and we thought that was kind of, that's what we were after. That was kind of a big coup. part two, I think, is the RPI. And at least in West Michigan, I think, we know that that's been a success. And I think Grand Traverse has had a success. And I think everywhere else, you know, people are at different points on the scale of relative success. So I think that that piece, as far as getting that identified region together, getting them talking, getting them ranking priorities and all that was very positive. I think this third step is definitely causing some heartburn, you know, as far as creating new Michigan Works districts, the new CMH districts, which through a number of moves, many CMHs in the state, community mental health, have lost significant money. I know we'll be cutting about $7 million over 5 years if the future doesn't change. I see Daryl nodding his head, I think, and also faces some significant cuts. And then DHS being combined with DCH and some of the cuts and the elimination of facilities there, I think. And I think that that's the difficult thing to prove, I think, is that there are real efficiencies, and that's what we'll be pushing the state on as we work with them. Obviously, he who has the goal makes the rules, and in this case, we're dealing with Medicaid money and state general fund money, and so we're not trying to block any of that. We want to work with the state. But there have been many studies that have shown that bigger is better, and I think we just want to make sure there's a rational approach. But there's all kinds of administrative decisions and legislative decisions that are tied into those big consolidations, and that's where our focus is right now. And that's all I have, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, Daryl.
I'm sorry, I should have said this before, but in case you didn't hear, Under Sheriff John Hess retired after 36 years with Kent County, and shortly thereafter, Michelle Young, who serves as the chief deputy, was promoted to under sheriff. Michelle is the first female under sheriff in the county, and a little known fact is her father was a sheriff, but don't ask me which county because I forget at this point in time. So
East side of the state. Pardon me? It was east side of the state.
yeah, so we're really pleased. Congratulate John, of course, for his outstanding work, and look forward to working with Michelle.
Very good.
Move we adjourn.
Support. Okay, moved and supported. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Good job. Boy, can't halfway through.